We wish to acknowledge the Aboriginal people as the traditional owners of this land, and we pay our respects to elders past and present. Warning: this podcast contains sexually explicit material and is a safe space for all individuals to freely express themselves. Any information or advice provided comes from our own experiences and in no means should be taken as professional advice. We respect each individual and have zero tolerance for any rude or unsolicited behaviour. Hey, my name's Lavinia. This is my podcast. There are lots of friends I do this podcast with. Project Sweet, Loud, Untamed Tarts, or better known as Project Slut. The show that educates and entertains all things sex in an inclusive and positive way. Let's put power back into being a slut and fight back slut-shaming.
Yep.
Yeah, you gotta tell me if you're gonna put something in my face.
No, don't worry. I'll pre-warn you. So we're here today with very, very interesting friend of mine called Solstice.
Hey.
Yeah, very, very. We'll chuck our socials up so you can get a really good visual of this beautiful human.
Thank you.
But we're gonna start with sexy snacks, which you would have heard me do with Miss Wild in the last episode. Which she's here today, being my little tech assistant.
Hello, hi.
Yeah, you can just hear her in the background. So I've got this little snack. It's gonna. You might want to play with it because I feel like you'll like the texture of this.
Is it gummy?
Do you want to put this in her hand? Mm-hmm. Guess correctly before they've even put it in their mouth.
Is that mochi?
Yeah, it is actually.
Yeah.
What the hell?
Is it okay,
You don't have to eat it if you don't want to. Could you guess what flavour it is?
Is that the bubble tea flavour?
Yes. Oh my God. How did you do this? That was incredible. That was so good. I'm very impressed. You can take the blindfold off now. That was the quickest and the easiest sexy snacks that this show has ever seen. Congratulations, Solstice.
Thank you. I'm sorry that was pretty lackluster for you.
I mean, it's okay. That means we just have extra time to chat. Chit-chat.
Yeah.
And we're talking today, which I want to call this episode Peeping Tom. Even though it's not about peeping toms, which I reckon we should get Luna to do an episode on voyeurism and peeping toms. Mm-hmm. But this is about peep shows. And for those who don't know what a peep show is, do you want to give them an explanation?
Yeah. So peep shows can be different depending on what country or location you're in. But in Perth specifically, there are only 2 peep shows left in Perth. And you pay $2 per, usually it's between 40 and 50 seconds. And then you'll be in a little room, it's all clean, and then a little window pops up and you'll see your dancer. And you just see them through the glass and you can kind of hear them a little bit if they laugh and stuff. And they'll just dance and it's a slowly, sultry, sexy striptease. And you keep putting your coins in and then that's it. And
So essentially it's just like watching someone from a distance in a closed space. Can you see them?
So kind of. You can, if people sit a little bit further back, you can kind of see them. You can see the window when someone's actually booked that space. But some people will put their faces pretty much right up to the glass and you can see them and you can see them smiling and they'll wave at you and stuff. And then I kind of wave back and yeah, you can see them, but you don't see full facial features properly.
Yeah. And what are you doing during the peep show? Are you just dancing? Are you stripping? Are you, teaching them how to cook? What are we doing for this $2?
So I actually have a really good routine of what I do. There is a pole in the back corner, but it's not a functioning spin pole. And I start standing up and I do a spin down and then I go into a split. Basically, I'm really flexible, so I do a big split into a twerk and then I slowly turn around my face and I take my top off over time and then I have moisturizer and I just rub it on my chest or I put it on my butt and twerk and then rub it in and just kind of do that. And then you are recommended to get fully nude. Mm-hmm. And then I just kind of dance nude. I don't do any penetrative things. I don't do anything with any toys or objects or anything like that besides the moisturizer.
So it's just like it's like going to a strip club, but like you get to pay for like a private, your own little show.
Yes.
Like in like a little bubble.
Yeah.
Sorry. And is there usually more than one person at a time, or is it just like, you know, do everyone get their own little booth? Like, how does that kind of work?
So, depending on the venue, there's usually 5 or 6 booths per like area, and only if you're like mask presenting, only one person per booth. If you're a couple, you're allowed to be in the same one, and yeah, like sometimes only one person will come in, and then sometimes we'll get 3 or 4 people in. Like I had an experience where I had these guys come in and there was 4 of them and there was 4 people in every individual room, and they kept going out and getting changed from their friends. And when they open the door, you can see the gold, like the light come up behind them. So you can see them moving around, and it was very
Uncomfortable?
yeah, it was very distracting because I just felt like I just didn't feel like it was as fun and comfortable as what it was meant to be.
You prefer that one-on-one time with someone.
Yeah. And then also I'm kind of like, I look in the mirror and I look at like, I look through the window, I look at them to give them eye contact, but I'm like, who am I meant to look at?
Yeah.
What position am I meant to put my butt in?
Like, who's got your attention?
Yeah.
And you want to, obviously, you know, you're a worker, like, you want to give your all into work, so you want to, like, provide someone, like, a good experience.
Yeah.
You know, when people come to this Peep show, they're getting to see you, Solstice.
Yes.
So tell me who you are. Just, like, really, like, allude into that. Yeah, tell me who Solstice is. Like, what do you do for a living? Where did the name come from? How did you get into the industry?
Yeah, easy. So I've been in the industry for 12 years now.
Wow. It's longer than high school.
Yeah. It started off doing webcamming, just online back before Manycams was a thing. And then it started just being a lot of online content. Then it started, like, OnlyFans started coming out. Originally my OnlyFans account was compromised, so I had to delete all of it, and then I started again.
Yep.
And as I started getting more tattoos and having more recognizable features, I kind of allowed myself to be more free with my art. Mm-hmm. And then, yeah, COVID happened and I started doing escorting for a little bit as we weren't able to earn any other income. And I've done porn. I was like, I just want to start doing dancing. So I've started working in strip clubs, and now I'm online and in a Peep show. It's lovely.
So you've done pretty much a bit of everything in the sex work industry. And you said you've done this for like over a decade, and now you're doing online content still and Peep shows.
Yes.
Now, what was that transition like, going from escorting to stripping, and then from stripping to Peep shows? Like, what made that decision go?
To be really honest with you, working in an industry as aggressively controversial as sex working can be, I was working in a venue that wasn't respectful of my body type, and they made that very obvious, mostly on every single shift. And I transitioned to another venue, which was really lovely, and I really liked working there, but I still had those fears and thoughts in my head from what was being told to me for a whole year before. And so my confidence was completely taken away. And then I was like, okay, let's just stay away from the clubs. Let's try Peep show work. And I actually fell in love with it. And it's honestly the best thing that's ever happened to my body, ever happened to me.
Yeah, wow. Like, I've never actually met anyone who did Peep shows till I met you. And I thought that was so interesting because you kind of almost forget that they still exist.
Yeah.
And because of like things like OnlyFans, you know, people are like you said, there's like not many Peep show places in Perth.
No.
And I think people probably still like to go to peep shows over like the one-on-one content you could get online, because potentially that connection, like you said, you didn't want to give your connection to 4 people when they came in, but you're giving that person like their time, you're reading off their like, you know, their face and their eye contact, and you know, it's like creating like a whole experience for that person who's paying for your time.
Yeah.
Do you find peep shows an easier aspect of sex work because it's literally not a contact thing compared to escorting and stripping, where people are, you know, you can kind of like sit on them and try like touch them a little bit?
So at Taboo, where I work, we can do our peep shows, but then customers can come in and they can like request us and pay for a private dance as well. And it is non-contact, and then you can pay extra to have a normal lap dance, and basically everything that would happen in a strip club would happen at Taboo. I allow people to touch my breasts and my butt, which isn't allowed in Australian strip clubs, but that's okay. And I find that's really nice because the men that come in, I've only ever had one man come in that's drunk, and he was fine. But everyone is sober, everyone's mostly respectful, and it's a lot more intimate for me. It's really nice. I can control my music that I play. I can control the time. I set my rules. I set my boundaries. 9 times out of 10, men follow them. And I found that I don't have to compete because there's no one else to compete to. You're the only dancer. You're not competing in a room of 30 different people. You know, it's not being run by a male who's pick and choosing how you're meant to look and how you're meant to present yourself.
Yeah. And you've mentioned this a couple times already about your look, and we will put you up on socials so people can have an idea of what we're talking about. But you are a larger woman from the typical beauty standard. Gorgeous, absolutely. You have very big titties.
They're a G cup and they're 7 kilos altogether.
Jesus Christ.
And they're natural.
That's like what I can
love
like.
that.
That's like what I can like. What do you call it? Like dumbbell press with like my arm, like the 7 kilo. Man,
I
like,
love when you're like, you like be to someone, do you want to hold them? And you like get them to put out, you just drop your titty.
Yeah, I literally will put my hand, I'll make them put their hand down. I'll just drop my breast onto their hand. And they're like, holy shit. And I'm like, yeah, dude, that's what I carry every day.
jeez, you're back. And
Yep.
you've got coloured hair, you've got tattoos, you've got piercings. You're a very alt girl, which I would say.
Yes.
How has that worked in your favour and not worked in your favour being in this industry, and how has that made you feel better about doing peep shows?
Okay. So I have an hourglass body. So I have a lot of things that people specifically online can really cater to. Being pale, being tattooed, being alternative, having a large chest that's tattooed, having my butt tattooed, having a big butt, being flexible. There's like so many different things that I can like get into. But I found that in the past, my hair has been black and then a different color split. And I found that people were a lot ruder to me and a lot more colder to me. And then when I changed to copper, everyone was a lot more respectful. I was making more money. People were nicer to me. People think I look younger. And it's really interesting because...
That is interesting.
Yeah, I can wear the same outfit that I wore before, but I get more money now. And people are a lot nicer.
I mean, I didn't actually know... I've never actually seen photos of you with darker hair. But I can only imagine you looking more approachable without the darker hair, because I think the darker hair plays into your alt aesthetic more. Come on, just across of like a bad bitch, you know, like do not fuck with her. But also you have extremely long nails, and that's very scary. I'm still scared.
They're not as long as they normally are either.
That's insane. That's absolutely insane. Yeah, wow. You seem like I said, like you have this more of like a fuck off bitch face with the darker hair, opposed to like the more like cottagecore copper hair that you've got now.
Yes. I also found as well, looking at my older photos, I wasn't happy with myself and I wasn't happy with my mental health, and
it was probably portraying in your energy.
Yeah, and that took a lot of effect into how I took my photos and how I perceived myself as a dancer.
What's like been the best part about doing peep shows?
Honestly, the freedom. like the freedom to be able to say no and have people mostly listen. But the freedom that I'm now allowed to have with my body, I have had men in dances just absolutely worship my body and just correct and fix things that I don't like about my body because they are constantly just like, I can't get over this. And this is the only place I have ever worked that has ever allowed me to be okay with my body. And I've never had my boss, I've never had clients say anything disgusting about it. It's really beautiful.
Yeah. And like, what, when you do go to these shows and like, you know, you're obviously getting a lot of like rewarding experiences from this type of sex work, what do you feel like that they're getting out of it opposed to going to see you online?
Honestly, I crack a lot of really stupid jokes and
I can imagine that.
yeah, and it's really nice because I've had a lot of people talk to me and like I don't just dance and not talk, like I try and get to know them and I try and provide a little bit of human connection because some people don't get that and some people don't have that, or you know, they say like, oh, I've seen you online, I've followed you on Twitter for ages. I instantly am like, oh God, don't say that because that makes me really nervous. I'm like, don't, it's embarrassing. But yeah, I like to provide like an actual human.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of people see sex workers and dancers just as a sexual object and you're categorized by your breasts, your butt and, you know, other objects. And like, I don't do that. I don't want to do that.
Yeah. Well, would you recommend someone to, like, if you met other industry girls, would you recommend peep shows?
Yes and no. Yes, if you have worked in industries and you're well polished with your skill set of knowing who you are, knowing what you can offer and being confident within yourself, especially if you've worked in venues that haven't treated you correctly. I say no because if you aren't a motivated person, like if you sit there and you complain and being like, oh, it's quiet, I'm not going to do anything, I'm not making money, like very low vibrational frequencies, and you don't utilize that time to say, do you know what, it's a quiet time at the moment, I'm going to go film content, I'm going to go take photos, I'm going to go do this. There are quiet times, that's fine, but it's never a guaranteed income, and a lot of it is relying on yourself and your hard work, and if you're not a hard worker, you will never succeed in a peep show.
What are you kind of making doing peep shows?
So
how does that system work? Because you said you get, the guys are paying like $2 for like 40, 50 seconds. Mm-hmm. And from what I know in a lot of other industries, it's, you know, like escorting, it's hourly, the house gets a cut, you get your cut.
Yep.
Same with stripping, you pay a fee and then you keep your tips.
Yes.
So what's it like in peep shows?
It's honestly really different. So we get 50% of the coins. And then for our private dancers, we get a percentage of that. Up until recently, we haven't had to pay a floor fee, and we do now, which is amazing. I've been asking and recommending that we should for a long time.
And what's a floor fee, and why would you? What's the benefits of recommending one?
The thing is that we're all contractors, and it's paying for your time, and it's also ensuring the fact that like the supplies that you're using to clean, the supplies that you're using to maintain, like it just helps cover, you know, your couple of hours working there. Because some people would use a lot more resources, some people wouldn't. And it's also just guaranteeing that you're actually going to show up on time and put in the hard work, which is really good.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. I used to say that at, when I was doing back in my pimping days, I used to always say like, you should not charge girls for being late, but reward them for actually showing up on time, showing up sober, showing up looking good. Like, that can be a whole other fucking episode, I swear.
100%.
Because you know what?
If you're on that one.
Yes.
Like you said, if you're putting your effort into your work, then you're going to reap the benefits of that.
Yes.
Whether it's financially, mentally, physically, you're like in a rewarding job.
Yes. And then also as well, which we didn't touch on before, is in private dances, men will also tip you as well. So that's where you get most of your money. You don't have to pay a percentage of that to the venue. That is yours to keep, which is really nice.
No, that is really good. if someone wanted to get into peep shows, whether they have had industry experience or are brand new to sex work, how would they go about that?
But yeah, I would definitely recommend trying to become friends with one or two of the girls at work at your desired location to get to know them, to even see how it runs, and even going in and talk to the owner. A lot of the times people will message on social media, but it's not, like, a lot of the time the peep shows pages are run by the dancers as well. So your best bet is to actually head in and get to know the owner, get them to actually look at you. Come in looking well dressed. Don't come in with your hair tied up in a messy bun, no nails, no makeup. That's not going to be a healthy representation of you or your character.
I love that. I love that you gave me a coy smile at it. That's why I was like, oh, cute.
Yeah.
This is a job advice with Solstice.
Yes.
No, I've absolutely loved getting to know about the peep shows. It's such an interesting aspect of sex worker because it's just so not common, but you just not heard about. Like, there's so, especially with like OnlyFans now, it's like fucking everyone's like on OnlyFans.
Yeah.
And then you're giving like the real life sex workers like a completely different genre of people because you're actually like in front of people.
Yeah, and that's a really beautiful thing. I actually reignited my OnlyFans at the start of this week, after taking a 3-month hiatus, and I've had a few people resubscribe and say, oh my God, I'm so happy that you're back. And then they actually like, where are you working now? Can I come and see you? And it's like working in a peep show and working like and allowing private dances is really good because the people that do want to see you online actually can come in, and it is a safe space for you and your client, and it's a timed.
And you're making more money.
Exactly.
Yeah, and that's what are you doing this for? Like, you know, if you're not doing work for like money and rewarding yourself, what else could you be doing it for? You're not doing this for free.
I mean, honestly, I do sex work because 1, it's good money for me, and 2, it actually just makes me very happy.
No, that's great. Like, we're all about empowering women, and like, I like breaking that stigma of that sex workers are like these deranged human trafficking victims who have no other options but to do sex work. Which, speaking of, you actually said this term just before we start this this podcast, your beige job.
Yes.
I love that term. Like, I absolutely love it. So what do you do as your beige job?
I've worked in my beige job for 15 years.
Yeah.
I am a hairstylist.
Amazing.
Yes.
That's why I have amazing hair.
Which is why a lot of my adult worker friends also have
amazing
hair. Yes. Shout out to Luna Wild's hair.
I love it.
Jack of all trades. This beautiful human is. You know, when you did mention beige job before, I thought that was absolutely like so funny. So what color are we assigning to your peep show job?
I don't know.
This, like, if the beauty stuff is your beige, what have we got for you?
Sparkly lavender.
Yeah,
Sparkly lavender job.
I was going to say spicy, but then everyone's like spicy worker, so.
No, I mean, spicy worker is just overused now.
Yeah.
I mean, you're more than a spicy worker.
Saucy.
Also, you don't eat spicy food, do you?
Yeah.
Do you? Who does?
I love spicy food. I'm feral for it.
Oh.
Yeah. Aries, man. What do you expect?
You know what's like so funny is that like I can see it. I see it. You know, I see
Thank
the
you.
Aries. I see the ram. That's a ram, right?
Yes.
Yeah. See, got it on that.
Yes.
Before we wrap up today, you know, I love doing this podcast to meet new people and get more insights on different things. But, you know, the main goal is to reappropriate the word slut.
Yes.
Because, you know, I want people to be like, oh, like slutty, just being slutty is just like a nice expression for someone who's just open with their sexuality. You know, whether that's open with your sexuality by yourself, with your partner, with, you know, your 10 closest friends at sex parties. Like, be a slut however you want to be, right?
Yeah.
You know, obviously being in the sex work industry, you probably would have experienced a bunch of slut shaming.
Yeah.
But how do you think that your job and your work and how you are as just a person, because you are a very interesting person, Solstice.
Thank you.
How can you take slut shaming and empower yourself with that?
I take a lot of Solstice and a lot of their energy into my normal waking life, when I'm not solstice. And I think about all the times where I've been so scared for people to see my body, whether it be with partners or at the beach or even my friends, and we're just hanging out. Like, it's actually really terrifying for me. And I go back into it and I think, you take your clothes off for people who don't even know you and they worship you. So why are you not worshipping yourself? Stop it.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, and it's a lot of it comes into me just being like, what are you doing? And I actually respectfully bully myself into realizing that it's actually okay. And 9 times out of 10, people aren't looking at your faults. The things that you hate about yourself, no one even knows about. And in my beige job, a lot of my clients know that I am a sex worker. I've never hidden it. Even my really old clients, I have an 85-year-old client and she knows all about it and she loves hearing about it.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and like my bosses know, and I'm very open about it because 1, it's a job, and 2, it's a part of my life, and 3, why would I ever hide that? Like, it's not a disgusting job. I'm not getting abused. It's not something to be shameful of. It's like, if I have a body, why am I not making money off of it if I can?
And by you owning your, what do we call it, your spicy job in
Yes.
your beige
Yes.
job with your clients and your bosses, you're kind of breaking that stigma of like, hey, you have a job, you are more than capable, you are educated, but you're still doing sex work. And it's just kind of breaking that stereotype.
Yeah.
And just by doing that, because a lot of people, as you would know, definitely do not disclose this type of work in their everyday life. And as someone who's doing that, you're actually fighting the cause a lot more than you would realize. Because yeah, like I said, like most people hide this stuff from everyday people, and the fact that you're putting yourself out there and like you're being vulnerable and you're showing them, hey, like I'm actually a cool person. And like I could not imagine an 85-year-old person being like, oh my God, tell me about when you were dick down, like, you know?
Yeah. She actually has read like my pole fitness magazines and everything, and she loves them. But yeah, like in saying that, I have had severe stalkers. I have been in really terrible situations where I have had to hide, and it's made me really nervous to be open about it. But then him coming out and finding out like a really personal part of my life and coming back into my life after stalking me for 2 years and being really like blunt with it, it made me realize like the only person that's holding you back from your fears is yourself. And there's nothing wrong with sex work. There's nothing wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with me. It's like, as long as we are all consenting and we're doing the best that we can, that's all that matters.
Yeah. No, that's like really like lovely put. Little clap. We're going all around for claps for solstice today, aren't we?
Thank you.
I've absolutely loved having you on the show today. And just before we actually go,
Yes.
do you want to tell us that story you briefly told me just before about the person that you saw come into the Peep?
So I actually have 2 stories, which are really beautiful connections.
Got a double story.
Yeah.
Double story.
Double story.
Like a double G's.
Oh, they're only single G's.
Well, you've got 2
Thankfully.
G's, so that's double G's.
Yeah, it's like if they were double, I wouldn't walk. But yeah, so I have 2 beautiful stories actually that happened, I think, on the same shift. I've had really beautiful experiences lately, and a lot of people think that you're just creating connections with people with your body, but it's like I've actually made really beautiful friends and made connections with humans, and it's really lovely. And my first one was I had a male come in, and he'd booked a 20-minute dance at the end of my shift, and we were dancing, and like I was just dancing for him, and he was really lovely. He was a very sweet man. And I started talking to him. I said, what do you do for work? And he's like, oh, I'm a painter. And I was like, really? And he said, yeah, let me show you. His art is phenomenal. It's like, you can just see how much his soul and love and life is put into that art. It is beautiful. And we started talking about art, and then he said, he's like, babe, you can stop dancing. Just put your robe on. We can just sit and talk. And we just sat for the last 10 minutes and just spoke. And we spoke about how he has just got his diagnosis for ADHD. I have ADHD as well. And we just had a really beautiful talk about being like neurodivergent and how that is functioning and how we're functioning with that. And it was a really beautiful experience where it wasn't even a stripper talking to a guy. It was just 2 humans talking. and it was really beautiful. It's really nice.
Oh, that is really nice.
Yeah, and I gave him lots of insight, and he gave lots of insight to me as well, and that was really beautiful. Mm-hmm. And another dance that I had was, my boss said to me, "Oh, she likes to dance," and I was like, "Oh, that's a bit nice. If I can just sit there and someone can dance with me and I'm getting paid for it, I'll be happy." And the client came in, and she was 50s, 60s year old, and she was 8 weeks into her transition. And it was really beautiful because she said, "I'd love to dance with you." And usually it's a non-contact dance. And I said, "Do you know what? No, I don't care. I'm going to waive that. You can hold." I held her hand and we danced, and I twirled her and she twirled me. And a lot of people don't really know this because I don't really disclose it that much as Solstice, but I'm actually non-binary, and I've been approved to transition in the past. I realized that that's not correct for me because I want to correct my body, not my gender, if that makes sense. We can get into that on another day. But I was talking to her about it, and I said, like, I understand where you're coming from. And we just had a really beautiful conversation, and it was just really lovely while we just slow danced and spoke about our gender and what this means for both of us and how excited she is. And it was honestly just really lovely. And it was just a very beautiful experience for me.
That's so nice that you are not just connecting with people, but you're actually making a difference in their lives. Because this person's probably going to go back and think, wow, like I just had the most amazing experience with a Peep Show dancer.
Yeah.
You know, they probably did not expect that at all. And you've just, for some reason, the universe put you guys two in the same spot in the same time. And you were both able to share like this lovely experience about transitioning and like, you know, gender identity. Yeah. And I really hope that this person does come back to see you, which so as well. I really do.
I think they will.
Because obviously it was a rewarding experience for them, but also for you as well.
Yes.
And we'll remember that. It's been really nice having you on and getting to know about Peep shows and about your experience, especially about your experiences connecting with yourself through sex work. Because that's not what a lot of people would realize about the industry, is that you're doing it for yourself and what you can get out of it. So it's been really, really nice having you. I hope to have you back on again because there are so many things that we could touch base on. And I definitely know that Miss Wild is going to have you on for the Kink series a couple of times. We'll get to see some different sides of you.
Good, thank you.
I'm so excited for that. But for now, see you guys.
Thank you. Bye.